1.5 million people, 8,000 fighters, checkpoints every 400 meters, a court system, a tax authority, a flag, a state, or something that calls itself one. And somewhere inside it, one man. His name, his real name, is Ibrahim Awad Ibrahim Ali al-Badri al-Samarai. But by July 2014, the world knows him as Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the self-declared Caliph of the Islamic State, the most wanted man on earth. And right now, at this exact moment, he is about to do something no leader of a terrorist organization has ever done before. He is about to show his face. 50 operators, 3 aircraft, 90 minutes. That is the window. Not to kill him. A Hellfire missile can do that from 30,000 feet while the pilot drinks coffee in Nevada. The mission is to take him alive. Pull him out of a city of 1.5 million hostile eyes, strap him to a seat, and fly him to a black site before his entire army knows he is gone. Can they do it? Here is what you need to understand about Mosul in July 2014. This is not a city with a terrorist problem. This is a city that has become the terrorist. On June 10th, roughly 1,500 ISIS fighters rolled into a metropolis defended by 30,000 Iraqi soldiers, and the soldiers ran. They dropped their weapons, stripped off their uniforms, and vanished into the civilian population. In 48 hours, a force outnumbered 20-1 captured Iraq's second-largest city. It was the most stunning military collapse since the fall of France in 1940. And what ISIS built after that was not a hideout. It was a government. Within weeks, Mosul had Sharia courts, traffic police under the black flag, a taxation bureau that collected from every shop and household. ISIS controlled the water, the electricity, the fuel. They ran the hospitals. They operated the schools, rewriting the textbooks, removing history, replacing science with doctrine. They executed people in public squares and uploaded the footage as recruitment material. Cell towers stayed online because ISIS used them for propaganda. Every street had informants, some willing, most terrified. Now think about this for a second. You want to insert a special operations team into that. Not into a remote village, not into a desert compound. Into the administrative capital of a functioning enemy state. A city with a population density of over 4,000 people per square kilometer. A city where a stranger walking the wrong street gets reported, detained, and beheaded inside an hour. That is the target environment. And at its center sits al-Baghdadi himself, a man so paranoid that he has not used a cell phone in years. He communicates through a network of personal couriers, men he has known since Camp Bakr, the American detention facility in southern Iraq, where he was held from 2004 to 2009. The Americans let him go. They classified him as a low-level civilian detainee. His file says he was a fixer, a guy who settled disputes between prisoners. They missed what he actually was, a man with a PhD in Quranic studies from the University of Baghdad, building a network inside the wire that would become the command structure of the most dangerous terrorist organization in modern history. By 2014, al-Baghdadi changes location every 24 to 48 hours. He sleeps in ordinary houses. He travels in civilian vehicles, no convoys, no motorcades, no flags. His personal security detail is small, 4 men, sometimes 6. All from Anbar province, all former military, all personally loyal. He does not trust technology. He does not trust large groups. He trusts routine, and the fact that in a city of 1.5 million, he is invisible. Almost invisible. Because on July 4th, 2014, al-Baghdadi makes a decision that changes everything. He walks into the great mosque of Al-Nuri. This mosque is not just any building. It was constructed in 1172 by the ruler Nur al-Din Mahmud Zengi. Its leaning minaret, locals call it al-Hadba, the hunchback, has stood for 842 years. It is the most recognizable structure in Mosul, and on this Friday, al-Baghdadi climbs the steps of its pulpit, dressed in black robes and a black turban, and delivers a sermon to a room full of worshippers and cameras. He declares himself Caliph, leader of all Muslims, commander of the faithful. It is broadcast to the world, and that broadcast is the crack. Stay with me. This is where it gets interesting. Every intelligence agency on the planet watches that footage. They analyze the mosque interior, they count the bodyguards, they study the angles of the cameras. But what matters is not what happens inside the mosque. What matters is what happens in the 11 minutes after al-Baghdadi walks out. A courier captured 3 weeks earlier, a man who served with al-Baghdadi at Camp Bakr, who arranged safe houses in western Mosul, has already talked. Not willingly, but he talked. And what he reveals is this. After every public appearance, al-Baghdadi follows a specific post-movement protocol. 3 civilian vehicles, identical make, identical color. They leave the mosque at 90-second intervals, taking 3 different routes. Al-Baghdadi is always in the second vehicle, and the destination is always the same district. Al-Zanjili, northwestern Mosul, a dense residential neighborhood where ISIS has hollowed out 3 adjacent houses into a single compound with internal tunnels connecting them. The route from the mosque to Al-Zanjili takes 11 minutes, and in those 11 minutes, al-Baghdadi is not inside a fortified compound. He is not surrounded by hundreds of fighters. He is in a Toyota sedan, with 2 bodyguards and a driver, moving through streets that, for once, are predictable. 11 minutes. That is the crack. Here is the team. 50 operators divided into 3 elements. Alpha element, 24 men from the Combat Applications Group, what the public calls Delta Force. These are the most experienced direct action operators in the United States military. Each one carries a suppressed HK-416 with a 14.5-inch barrel, subsonic 5, 56 rounds optimized for reduced muzzle signature. Sidearm, Glock 19, with a threaded barrel and suppressor. Every man wears PVS-31 night vision, not needed for a daytime operation, but staged for contingency. On their plate carriers, 6 magazines, 2 flashbangs, 1 smoke grenade, flex cuffs, a tourniquet, and a bone conduction headset connected to a PRC-152 radio with frequency-hopping encryption that no technology in Mosul can intercept or decode. Bravo element, 16 Army Rangers functioning as a quick reaction force. Their job is perimeter. Block the surrounding streets, hold intersections, and buy time if the extraction goes hot. They carry M4A1 rifles, M249 saws for suppressive fire, and 2 Javelin launchers in case ISIS rolls armor. And by 2014, ISIS has armor. Captured Humvees, captured T-55 tanks, captured American M11117 armored vehicles that the Iraqi army left behind. And then there is the ISA cell. 10 operators from the intelligence support activity. The unit so secret that the army has renamed it 5 times to keep it out of the press. These 10 have been inside Mosul for 72 hours already. They entered separately, in civilian clothes, with forged identity documents matching the local dialect. They carry concealed pistols and encrypted burst transmitters that send a single compressed data packet every 6 hours, too short to triangulate, too encrypted to decode. Their job: confirm al-Baghdadi enters the mosque, confirm he exits, confirm the vehicle, confirm the route. Overhead, at 28,000 feet, invisible, inaudible, an MQ-9 Reaper circles Mosul. Its sensor ball tracks thermal signatures across the city. It sees every checkpoint, every vehicle, every fighter with a rifle on a rooftop. The feed goes to a ground station 400 miles away, where an analyst watches al-Baghdadi's mosque on a screen the size of a dining table. In the Reaper's wing, pylons hang 4 Hellfire missiles. They are not part of the plan. They are the abort option. The option that means the mission has failed, and the only remaining move is to turn a Toyota sedan into a crater. That is Hellfire. This is not a Hellfire mission. Day 1. 72 hours before the sermon, the ISA cell moves into Mosul in pairs through 3 different entry points. 2 come from the south, crossing the Tigris on a commercial barge. 2 from the east, in a produce truck with forged ISIS transit papers. The remaining 6 filter in through the northern suburbs over 2 days, on foot, dressed as displaced civilians, which, in Mosul in 2014, is virtually everyone. By hour 36, all 10 are in position. 2 in a rented apartment 400 meters from the mosque, with a direct line of sight to the main entrance. 2 in a tea shop on the route to al-Zanjili. The remaining 6 spread across 3 observation points along the 3 possible vehicle routes. Day 2. The waiting. Mosul in July is a furnace, 48 degrees Celsius at noon. The air above the asphalt shimmers like water. Inside their positions, the ISO operators sweat through civilian clothes, drink bottled water sparingly, and watch. They count patrols. They time checkpoint rotations. They log every vehicle that passes. One pair identifies a pattern. Every 90 minutes, an ISIS technical with a mounted DSK heavy machine gun drives the perimeter road around the mosque. Another pair confirms that the al-Zanjili compound has 2 visible guards at the front and none at the rear. The rear wall backs onto a narrow alley too tight for vehicles. The guards are relaxed. They smoke. They check phones. Nobody expects an attack on this neighborhood. Why would they? It is the heart of the Caliphate. Day 3. Friday. The sermon. At 0600 local, the Reaper picks up unusual vehicle movement near the mosque. 3 white Toyota Land Cruisers park in a controlled area behind the building. ISA confirms. Advanced security team, 6 men, sweeping the mosque interior. At 0900, the ISA apartment team sends a burst transmission. 3 words. Jackpot entering mosque. Jackpot. That is the call sign for al-Baghdadi. 400 miles away, the mission commander keys his radio. 1 word. Execute. Alpha element launches from a forward staging base in Kurdish-controlled territory, 62 kilometers northeast of Mosul. 3 MH-60 Black Hawks, modified for reduced acoustic signature. No external markings. Flight time to the insertion point. 19 minutes at low altitude. Terrain masking through the river valley to avoid the 2 ISIS observation posts on the eastern ridgeline. They will not land in the city. Too loud. Too visible. The LZ is a dry canal bed 1,600 meters north of al-Zanjili. Alpha dismounts. Moves on foot. Bravo element follows in 2 additional Black Hawks, inserting at a secondary LZ 900 meters east. The little birds, 2 MH-6s, stay airborne in a holding pattern north of the river, engines running, ready for extraction. At 0947, the ISA team at the mosque sends another burst. Jackpot exiting, 2nd vehicle, white Land Cruiser. The clock starts. 11 minutes. Alpha element is already in position. 24 operators split into 3 teams of 8, staged along the route at 300, 500, and 700 meters from the mosque. The ambush point is a narrow street between 2 4-story buildings, perfect channelization, no room to turn around, no side streets for 300 meters. Minute 2. The first Land Cruiser passes the 300-meter mark. ISA confirms, advanced security, 2 men in front seats, no passenger in back. Minute 4. The second Land Cruiser enters the street. The ISA operator in the tea shop lifts his cup to his lips. In his ear, the bone conduction speaker says, 2nd vehicle confirmed. Single passenger rear right. It works. Minute 6. Alpha Team 1 moves. 2 operators step into the street carrying a wooden cart, the kind used by every vendor in Mosul. They position it across the road. The Land Cruiser slows. The driver honks. Everything happens in 4 seconds. 2 flashbangs detonate, 1 at the front of the vehicle, 1 at the rear. The concussive blast in the narrow street is enormous, amplified by the buildings on both sides. 8 operators converge from 2 directions. The driver's door is wrenched open. The front passenger reaches for a weapon and is pulled from the seat before his hand closes. The rear door opens. Al-Baghdadi is on the floor of the back seat, arms over his head. He is not armed. He wears the same black robes from the sermon, now covered in glass from the shattered windows. His eyes are open. He does not resist. Flex cuffs on wrists, flex cuffs on ankles. A hood goes over his head. 7 seconds from first flashbang to the Caliph of the Islamic State, lying face down in the back of an operator's vehicle with a bag over his head and zip ties on his wrists. Then the third vehicle arrives. It was supposed to take a different route. The courier said 3 different routes, but the third Land Cruiser turns onto the same street, and its driver sees everything: the overturned cart, the shattered glass, the armed men in tactical gear dragging a hooded figure. He hits the brakes, reverses, and starts honking. Not the horn of a confused driver, but a rhythmic pattern: 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. It is a signal, an ISIS alert code. The clock changes. Alpha team leader keys his radio. Compromise, compromise, compromise. Scramble exfil. Bravo element, holding intersection 600 meters out, hears it. They tighten the perimeter. 2 Rangers deploy spike strips across the main northern road. The SAW gunners shift positions to cover the eastern approach. But the problem is not what is behind them. The problem is what is around them. Doors open, windows open, faces appear, and then phones, dozens of them. The sound of camera shutters clicking, the blue glow of screens recording video. In 2014, Mosul has cell coverage. ISIS kept the towers running. And now, 60 seconds after the capture of the most wanted man in the world, civilians are filming American special operators in full tactical gear, dragging a hooded prisoner through a residential street. An ISA operator sprints toward the nearest group, shouting in Arabic, "Get inside! Get away from the windows!" But they do not move. Some of them are terrified. Some are recording because they think this is ISIS executing someone and they want evidence. Some are recording because they know exactly what is happening and they want the world to see. 4 minutes. That is how long it takes for the first ISIS response. A technical. The same DSHK truck the ISA team had clocked on its 90-minute patrol route comes screaming down the perimeter road. The 50 caliber machine gun opens up from 300 meters. The sound is unmistakable, heavy, rhythmic, each round punching through concrete like paper. Bravo element engages. A javelin operator locks the technical and fires. The missile covers 300 meters in under 2 seconds. The truck becomes a fireball. The DSHK silenced. But now there are more. A second technical from the south. Small arms fire from a rooftop. 2 ISIS fighters with AK-47s shooting blind, spraying rounds into the street. An operator takes a round to the plate carrier. He goes down, gets back up. Another takes shrapnel from a ricochet, left arm below the elbow. He keeps moving. Tourniquet goes on one-handed while walking. 90 minutes. That was the extraction window. They have used 43. The little birds come in fast and low, 50 feet above the rooftops, the rotor wash throwing dust and debris into the streets below. They flare over the dry canal bed. Alpha loads al-Baghdadi into the first bird. 6 operators climb aboard. The second bird takes the wounded. Bravo element collapses the perimeter in sequence, innermost positions first, leapfrogging back, covering each other's withdrawal. 12 minutes later, all 50 operators are airborne. Behind them, Mosul is waking up. The videos are already uploading. Within an hour, they will be on every jihadist forum, every news channel, every social media platform on Earth. The mission is complete. Al-Baghdadi is captured alive. 2 operators wounded, none killed. 0 civilian casualties. It is a tactical masterpiece, and it might be a strategic disaster. Here is the part nobody planned for. Within 6 hours of the capture, ISIS does not collapse. It fractures. 3 separate commanders in 3 separate provinces declare themselves the rightful successor. Mosul descends into internal fighting, not against the Americans, but between ISIS factions. One group seizes the oil infrastructure west of the city. Another takes the weapons depots. A third retreats into the desert and begins planning retaliatory attacks not against military targets, but against Western civilians. Within a week, car bombs hit Baghdad, Beirut, and Istanbul, not coordinated by a central command, because central command is gone. These are independent cells, unleashed by the sudden absence of the one man who held them together. Al-Baghdadi's authority was not just political, it was theological. He claimed descent from the Prophet Muhammad. He held a doctorate in Islamic jurisprudence. Without him, there is no caliph. And without a caliph, every local commander becomes his own authority. Capturing al-Baghdadi does not cut the head off the snake. It turns one snake into 20. And there is the footage. Shaky, grainy, unmistakable. American operators on Iraqi soil conducting an unauthorized capture operation in a populated urban area. The Iraqi government, which was not informed, calls it a violation of sovereignty. Iran, which has its own militias operating in Mosul's suburbs, calls it an act of war. The UN calls for an investigation. Al-Baghdadi sits in a black site somewhere in the region. He is alive. He will face trial. Maybe. Someday. If anyone can agree on a court, a jurisdiction, a legal framework for trying a man who declared himself the ruler of a state that no nation recognized, but millions followed. 2 operators carry scars. The mission parameters were met. Every tactical objective achieved. But the question is not whether the plan worked. The question is whether it should have. You are seeing this through their eyes now. 50 men in a city of 1.5 million. 11 minutes to grab the most protected terrorist in modern history. They did it. The plan held. The crack was real. The sermon, the route, the 11-minute window. Everything the courier said was true. Everything the drones confirmed was accurate. The operators executed flawlessly, and the world got worse. So here is what I want you to think about. If you had the shot, not the Hellfire, not the drone strike, not the clean kill from 30,000 feet, but the hard one, the one that means boots on the ground, operators in harm's way, a city on fire for 11 minutes, and a prisoner who might be more dangerous alive than dead. Would you take it? Would capturing him have been worth more than killing him? A trial, testimony, intelligence. The symbolic destruction of a man who called himself God's chosen, reduced to an orange jumpsuit in a courtroom. Is that worth more than a crater where a Toyota used to be? Or is the Hellfire the mercy? Not for him, for everyone else. Drop your answer in the comments. And if you think you know a harder target than the Caliph of Mosul, tell me who, tell me where, and tell me how, because there is always another sermon, always another 11 minutes, and somewhere right now, someone is counting the seconds.